How did the Civil Rights Act of 1866 impact African Americans? Have you ever wondered how a single piece of legislation could change the lives of millions? The Civil Rights Act of 1866 did just that for African Americans during a transformative time in United States history. This act was passed during the Reconstruction era, right after the American Civil War. It aimed to protect the civil rights of African Americans by defining citizenship and ensuring equal protection under the law. Before this act, African Americans faced severe discrimination and mistreatment, especially in the southern states. Many were subjected to black codes, which were laws that restricted their freedoms and rights. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 was a direct response to these oppressive conditions. One of the most important aspects of this act was its definition of citizenship. It stated that all persons born in the United States, regardless of race or previous condition of servitude, were citizens. This was a monumental shift, as it meant that African Americans were recognized as full citizens with equal rights under the law. The act also affirmed that all citizens deserved equal protection. This was a vital step in fighting against racial discrimination and violence. By providing legal protections, the act helped counteract the harsh, black codes that were still being enforced in many southern states. These codes often forced African Americans into conditions that resembled slavery. Economically, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 opened doors for African Americans. It allowed them to enter into contracts and own property, which had been denied to them before. This was a significant move towards economic independence and stability for many African Americans. While the act did not immediately grant full political rights, it laid the groundwork for future legislation. For example, the 15th Amendment, which would secure voting rights for African American men, was influenced by the principles established in the Civil Rights Act of 1866. However, enforcing this act was not easy. President Andrew Johnson vetoed it, and there was a lack of federal authority to enforce the law in many southern states. This meant that violence and discrimination continued to be rampant. Events in cities like Memphis and New Orleans showed that racial violence was still a major issue. The legacy of the Civil Rights Act of 1866 is significant. It served as a template for the 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, which further solidified the ideas of citizenship and equal protection. This act marked the beginning of a long struggle for civil rights in the United States. It laid the foundation for future movements and legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1960 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In the context of the American Civil War and Congressional Reconstruction, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 was a critical step toward rebuilding the nation. It aimed to ensure that the principles of freedom and equality were extended to all citizens, even as challenges and conflicts continued to shape American society for generations.